Here, man, please take it.
A 14-year-old black boy, broke, exhausted, with nothing left, just handed his last $10 to a complete stranger on the subway. She looked at him and said,
Sweetheart, I can't take money from a child.
He shook his head.
It's okay. You need it more than me tonight.
That $10? It was supposed to buy medicine for his sick grandmother. He spent the whole week mowing lawns, washing cars, carrying groceries, just to earn it. But when he saw an old woman trembling alone on that platform, hungry, crying, he gave it all away. What this boy didn't know was that woman had the power to make his eviction notice vanish before sunrise. But to understand why that $10 meant everything to Landon Turner, you need to see where it came from. And more importantly, you need to see the life this boy was living. 6:15 in the morning, East Baltimore. Landon opened his eyes on the same old couch he'd been sleeping on for the past 2 years. Not because he didn't have a bed. He had one. But he gave it to his grandmother. Grandma Ruth was 72, arthritis in both hands, high blood pressure that sent her to the emergency room twice last year. She raised Landon since he was 5, the day his mama walked out the front door and never came back. Daddy? Landon never knew his face, never even saw a photo. So it was just the two of them, a boy and his grandmother, against everything. Landon swung his legs off the couch and walked to the kitchen. He opened the fridge. Half a jar of peanut butter, 4 slices of bread, a jug of water. That was it. He closed the fridge quietly. He didn't want Grandma Ruth to hear, because if she heard, she'd get up. And if she got up, she'd try to cook. And if she tried to cook with those swollen hands... Landon? Baby? That you? Too late. Yes, ma'am. Go back to sleep, Grandma. I got it. He heard the bed creak. Then her footsteps. Slow, unsteady. She appeared in the doorway, holding the wall for balance. Her fingers were swollen twice their normal size. Let me fix you something before school. Grandma, sit down. I'm making breakfast. She smiled, a tired, proud, worried smile. You're 14 years old, baby. You're supposed to be a child, not the man of the house. Landon spread peanut butter on bread and handed her a plate. I'm both, he said, and he smiled back, but the smile didn't reach his eyes. He walked to the front door, reached for the handle, and froze. There it was, bright orange paper taped right at eye level. 3-day notice to quit. $1,200 past due. Landon's heart dropped into his stomach. He ripped it off the door, fast, before Grandma Ruth could see. Folded it, shoved it into his backpack. His hands were shaking. $1,200. He did the math in his head. He made maybe $15, $20 a week doing odd jobs around the neighborhood. At that rate, it would take him over a year. They had 3 days. He stood there for a moment, just breathing. Then he whispered to himself something Grandma Ruth always said. If you only got a little, give a little. God keeps the books. He didn't know why he said it, but it calmed him down. So he zipped up his backpack, stepped outside, and started walking. 25 minutes on foot to school. No bus money. His sneakers had holes near the toes, and he could feel the sidewalk through the rubber. At school, kids talked about new video games, new sneakers, weekend plans. Landon sat in the back row and listened. He didn't join in. Not because he didn't want to, because he had nothing to add. But he paid attention in class, every word, every lesson. Because Grandma Ruth always told him, education is the one thing nobody can take from you. So he wrote everything down, carefully, neatly, like each word was worth money. 3:15. School was out. But Landon's day was just starting. He walked through the neighborhood, knocking on doors. Mrs. Wilson, need anything carried today? $2. Mr. Henderson, want me to rake the yard? $3. Mr. Davis, can I wash your car? $5. By 6 o'clock, Landon had $10 in his hand, a single bill. He stared at it like it was made of gold. $10. Almost enough for Grandma Ruth's blood pressure pills. Just $2 short. He tucked it into his pocket, right next to the eviction notice he was hiding from the only person he loved. On the walk home, he passed a tall office building downtown. Glass lobby, marble floors, bright lights. Through the window, he could see a big framed poster on the wall. Belmore Hospitality Group, building luxury, one guest at a time. Landon glanced at it for a second. Just another rich people building he'd never step foot inside. He kept walking. Back at the apartment, Ray was sitting on the front stoop. Ray was 50, a veteran, lived next door, kept an eye on Landon and Ruth like they were family. "How much Henderson pay you today?" Ray asked. $3. Ray shook his head. "That yard's worth 20. He's robbing you, kid." Landon shrugged. Ray reached into his pocket and held out a $5 bill. "Take it." "Nah, I'm good, Ray." "Boy, you're 14. You shouldn't be carrying all this." Landon looked at him. "But Grandma only got me, Ray, so I gotta carry it." Ray stared at him for a long moment, then put the money away and said quietly, "You're the most stubborn kid I ever met. And the best one, too." That night, Landon sat beside Grandma Ruth on the bed. She asked him to read to her, something she'd done since he was little, except now he was the one reading. He opened a library book, and she rested her hand on his head. "Landon?" "Yes, ma'am?" "You remember what I always tell you? If you only got a little, give a little." She nodded. "God keeps the books, baby. Don't you ever forget." He wouldn't. But what Landon didn't know was that God was about to balance those books in a way he could never imagine. That night, Landon Turner would face a choice that most grown adults wouldn't have the courage to make, and he was only 14. It started at 9:30. Landon was sitting on the couch doing homework when he heard a sound from the bedroom. A gasp, then a thud. He dropped his pencil and ran. Grandma Ruth was standing by the bed, one hand gripping the headboard, the other pressed against her chest. Her face was gray. Her eyes couldn't focus. "Grandma!" He caught her before she fell, guided her back onto the bed. Her body was shaking. Not a little. A lot. "My head. The room's spinning, baby." Landon grabbed the pillbox from the nightstand. He flipped it open. Empty. He stared at it, flipped it again, shook it. Nothing. "Grandma, where's your medicine?" "Ran out. Yesterday. I was gonna tell you." Yesterday. She ran out yesterday and didn't say anything. Because she didn't want him to worry. Because that's who Grandma Ruth was. She'd rather suffer in silence than put one more thing on a 14-year-old's shoulders. Landon's chest was tight. He pulled out his phone, cracked screen, barely holding together, and thought about calling 911. But Grandma Ruth grabbed his wrist. "Don't call the ambulance, Landon. Please. We can't afford that bill. It'll bury us." He knew she was right. The last ER visit cost $800. They were still paying it off. On top of the rent, on top of everything. So no ambulance, no hospital. Just a 14-year-old boy standing in a tiny apartment, trying to figure out how to save his grandmother. Think. The 24-hour pharmacy, Lexington Station, 4 subway stops away. He knew the place. He'd picked up her prescriptions there before. Blood pressure pills, $12. He had 10, $2 short. But 10 was better than nothing. Maybe the pharmacist would let him pay the rest later. Maybe he could explain. Maybe if they saw he was just a kid trying to help his grandma. He grabbed his jacket, shoved the $10 bill deep into his pocket, and headed for the door. "Landon!" He turned around. Grandma Ruth was lying back on the pillow, her eyes barely open, but she was looking straight at him. "You are not going out there alone at this hour." "Grandma, I'll be quick. 4 stops there, 4 stops back, I promise." "Baby, it's almost 10 o'clock at night. You're 14 years old. And you need your medicine." Silence. Her eyes got wet. She reached out and grabbed his hand. Her swollen fingers wrapped around his like she was trying to memorize the feeling. "You be careful, you hear me? You come straight back." "I will, Grandma. I promise." He squeezed her hand. Then he walked out into the night. The subway station was 6 blocks away. Landon walked fast, hoodie up, backpack on. The streets were mostly empty. A few cars, a stray dog near the bodega. The streetlight on the corner was out again. It had been out for months, and nobody fixed it. Nobody fixed anything in this neighborhood. He swiped his student Metro card and went through the turnstile. Down the stairs. The platform was almost deserted. Flickering fluorescent lights. A puddle of rainwater creeping across the tiles from a crack in the ceiling. A 14-year-old boy on a subway platform at 10 o'clock at night. That picture alone tells you everything about the life Landon Turner was living. The train came. He got on. 4 stops. He ran up the stairs at Lexington Station and turned the corner toward the pharmacy. And then his whole body went cold. The gate was down. The lights were off. A handwritten sign taped to the glass. "Closed early. Plumbing emergency. Sorry for the inconvenience." Landon stood there, just staring at the sign. His reflection stared back at him through the dark glass. A skinny kid in an oversized hoodie holding a $10 bill that couldn't do anything for anyone tonight. He pressed his forehead against the glass and closed his eyes. No medicine, no backup plan, no one to call. Ray wasn't answering his phone, probably working the night shift. The next closest pharmacy was too far to walk, and Grandma Ruth was home alone, dizzy, scared, waiting for him. He turned around and walked back to the station. Slow this time. The energy drained out of his legs. He swiped through the turnstile and walked down to the platform to wait for the train back home. The $10 was still in his pocket. Useless tonight. But he'd need it tomorrow. He'd need every cent. He sat down on the bench, leaned his head back, exhaled. And that's when he saw her. An older white woman sitting at the far end of the same bench. Oversized coat, no purse, hands trembling, eyes swollen and red. She was holding a paper bag, and she was completely alone. What Landon did next would cost him the only thing he had left. But here's the thing about Landon Turner. He didn't see a stranger sitting on that bench. He saw his grandmother. He sat there for a moment, watching, not staring, just noticing. The way her hands shook, the way her eyes stared at the floor like she was trying to disappear. The way she held that paper bag against her chest like it was the only thing keeping her together. Everything in his head said, "Mind your business. You don't know this woman. She's white. She's old. She might be scared of you. You're a black kid on a subway platform at almost 11 at night. Just sit still, wait for your train, go home." But everything in his chest said something different. His grandmother's voice, quiet, steady, like it always was. "If you only got a little, give a little." Landon took a breath. Then he moved. Not too close. 2 seats away. He kept his hands on his knees where she could see them, and he spoke softly. "Ma'am, are you okay?" The woman flinched, her whole body tensed. She looked at him, eyes wide, startled, like a deer caught in headlights. Landon didn't move, didn't flinch back, just stayed right where he was, voice low and steady. "I'm not trying to bother you, I promise. It's just, you look like my grandma when she's having a bad night. I just wanted to check on you. You look like my grandma." 5 words. Simple. Honest. The kind of thing only a child would say, because only a child would think to say it. No adult would compare a stranger to their grandmother on a cold subway platform. But Landon wasn't thinking like an adult. He was thinking like a boy who loved someone and recognized that same pain sitting 2 seats away. The woman's shoulders dropped, just a little. She didn't speak, didn't move, but she didn't leave either. 30 seconds passed. A minute. 2 minutes. The silence between them wasn't awkward. It was heavy, like both of them were carrying something they couldn't put into words. Then she whispered, "My son won't talk to me." Her voice cracked on the word son. She didn't look at Landon when she said it. She looked at her phone in her lap. The screen was dark. Landon didn't ask why, didn't try to fix it. Didn't say, "I'm sure it'll work out," or "give it time," or any of those things adults say when they don't know what else to say. He just said, "I'm sorry, ma'am. That must really hurt." And that was it. No advice, no lecture, no pity. Just a 14-year-old boy sitting next to a 70-something woman on an empty subway platform, giving her the one thing nobody else had given her all day. Presence. Sometimes that's all it takes. Not a speech, not a solution, just someone sitting close enough to say, "I see you. You're not invisible." A few more minutes passed. Then the woman said quietly, "I haven't eaten all day. I bought this sandwich hours ago, but I can't." Landon looked at her. Then he reached into his pocket. His fingers touched the $10 bill. And everything stopped. He knew what that money was for. Grandma Ruth's medicine. Tomorrow morning, first thing, he was going back to the pharmacy. That $10 was the difference between his grandmother getting her pills and his grandmother not getting her pills. But the pharmacy was closed tonight, and this woman was here, right now, shaking, hungry, alone. His fingers hovered over the bill. He could feel the crease in the paper. He could feel the eviction notice folded up in his backpack. He could feel the weight of everything pressing down on his 14-year-old shoulders. And then he pulled it out. He folded the bill carefully, placed it on the bench between them, and said, "Ma'am, please, when the morning comes, get yourself something warm to eat. It's only $10, but my grandma always says, if you only got a little, give a little." The woman stared at the bill. Then she looked at him, really looked at him, like she was seeing him for the first time. "Sweetheart, I can't take your money. You're a child." "It's okay, ma'am. I'll figure it out. I always do." "I'll figure it out. I always do." That sentence, from the mouth of a 14-year-old boy who had nothing, landed heavier than any sermon, any speech, any TED Talk. Because he meant it. He'd been figuring it out his whole life. The woman's eyes filled with tears. She closed her fingers around the bill. Then she looked down at the paper bag in her lap, the sandwich she couldn't eat. She slid it across the bench toward him. "Then you take this. Deal?" Landon looked at the sandwich. He hadn't eaten since that peanut butter bread this morning. His stomach had been growling for hours, but he wasn't going to show it. He picked it up. Deal. And for the first time all night, for both of them, a real smile broke through. Small, tired, but real. The platform speaker crackled. "Last train departing in 5 minutes." Landon looked at the woman. "Ma'am, where are you headed?" She hesitated. Her eyes drifted. I'm not sure." That answer scared him more than the empty pharmacy. An old woman, alone, no plan, almost 11 at night, on a platform that would be completely empty in 5 minutes. "I'm going to ride with you to a safer stop, okay? My my grandma, she'd want me to." He said "Mom" first, then corrected himself. A small slip, but it told a big story. The story of a boy who never had a mother, so the word still lived in his mouth, looking for somewhere to land. Catherine's eyes glistened. She nodded. They got on the train together, side by side. The car was nearly empty, just the hum of the rails and the flicker of the lights. Catherine noticed his worn sneakers, the broken zipper on his backpack, the cracked phone screen poking out of his pocket. Every detail told her the same thing. This child has nothing, and he just gave away the only thing he had. Then Landon noticed something on the bench between them. A handkerchief. It must have fallen from her coat pocket. He picked it up. Soft fabric, stitched edges, 2 letters embroidered in the corner. C. B. He handed it to her. "You dropped this, ma'am." She took it. Her fingers brushed the initials. She looked at him with an expression he couldn't read. Something shifted behind her eyes. Something deep. The train slowed. Downtown station. Through the window, Landon could see the street level and a black car parked at the curb. Engine running at almost 11 at night. Strange. Catherine saw it too. Her back straightened, her chin lifted, just for a second. Then she softened again. Landon didn't notice any of it. He walked her to the stairs, smiled. "Good night, ma'am. I hope your son calls you back." Then he turned around, walked back down to the platform, sat on the bench, and waited for the train going the other direction. Alone. Landon Turner rode the train home that night thinking he'd never see that woman again. He had no idea she was already looking for him. The train rocked back and forth, almost empty now. Just Landon and the hum of the rails. He pulled the sandwich out of his backpack, unwrapped it slowly, took one bite, then another. It was cold, a little stale, but it was the best thing he'd tasted all day. He ate half, then he stopped, wrapped the other half back up carefully, and put it in his backpack. That half was for Grandma Ruth. Because that's how Landon's brain worked. Even when someone gave him something, his first thought was never about himself. It was always, what can I bring home for her? He leaned his head against the window and watched the city blur past. Dark buildings, closed shops, empty streets. His reflection stared back at him. A skinny kid in an oversized hoodie with nothing in his pockets. No $10, no medicine, no plan for tomorrow. But something strange happened in his chest. He didn't feel empty. He replayed the moment he handed that woman the money. The look in her eyes. The way her fingers closed around the bill. The way she said, "Sweetheart," like she meant it. And for some reason, he felt peace. He whispered to himself, God keeps the books. 11:30. Landon unlocked the apartment door as quietly as he could. The lights were off. Grandma Ruth had fallen asleep waiting for him. Her breathing was steady now. The dizziness had passed. He stood over her bed for a moment, just watching her breathe. In and out. In and out. She was okay. For tonight, she was okay. He pulled the blanket up over her shoulders, placed the half sandwich on the nightstand with a small piece of paper torn from his notebook. For you, Grandma. I love you. Then he lay down on the couch, stared at the ceiling. The eviction notice was still in his backpack, folded between his math textbook and his library book. 3 days, no money, no answers. He closed his eyes, and somewhere between worry and exhaustion, he fell asleep. But across town, a very different scene was unfolding. Catherine Belmore stepped into the back of the black car. The door closed behind her with a soft thud. Inside, 2 people were waiting, a driver behind the wheel, and Diane Caldwell, her personal assistant of 15 years, sitting in the back seat with a phone pressed to her ear. Diane hung up immediately. Mrs. Belmore, we've been searching for you for 3 hours. Your phone died. We had no idea where... Catherine raised one hand. Diane went silent. The car was warm. Soft leather seats, tinted windows, climate control. A world completely different from the subway platform she'd been sitting on 30 minutes ago. Catherine reached into her coat pocket and pulled out the $10 bill. She unfolded it slowly, held it under the reading light. Her eyes were still wet. But these weren't the same tears from the subway. Those were tears of loneliness. These were tears of something else. She stared at that bill for a long time. Then she spoke. Diane, I need you to find someone for me. Diane pulled out a notebook. Who? A boy, about 14 years old. He was on the subway with me tonight. Do you know his name? No, but he had a backpack with a school patch on it. Catherine closed her eyes, remembering. Westfield Middle School. Diane wrote it down. He gave me this. Catherine held up the $10 bill. This was everything he had, and he gave it to a stranger without thinking twice. Diane looked at the bill, then at Catherine. She'd worked for this woman for 15 years. She'd seen billion-dollar deals. She'd seen celebrities and senators walk through Catherine's office. She had never seen Catherine Belmore hold anything the way she was holding that $10 bill. Find him, Diane. Whatever it takes. And 6 blocks away, on a lumpy couch in a tiny apartment, Landon Turner slept. He had no idea what was coming. The next day, strange things started happening to Landon Turner. Things a 14-year-old couldn't explain. It started at school. Second period. The intercom buzzed. "Landon Turner, please report to the principal's office." His heart dropped. Every kid in class turned and looked at him. He grabbed his backpack and walked down the hallway with his stomach in knots.
What did I do? Am I in trouble?
He knocked on the door. "Come in, Landon. Sit down." Principal Howard leaned forward. But she wasn't frowning. She was smiling. "Landon, how are things at home?" "Fine, ma'am." "Good. Tell me, have you ever thought about a mentorship program?" Landon blinked. "A what?" "Just something that came across my desk this morning. I thought of you." She didn't explain more, just smiled and sent him back to class. Landon sat down, completely confused. Since when did the principal smile at him? Since when did anyone at this school think of him for anything? But that was just the beginning. At 3:45, his phone buzzed. Grandma Ruth calling. "Landon, the landlord just called." His blood went cold. What did he say? "That's the strange part, baby. He said there might be a change on our account. Told me to sit tight, then hung up." Sit tight? What does that mean?
I don't know. But he didn't sound angry. He sounded polite.
Their landlord had never been polite, not once in 2 years. Landon stared at his phone. Something was happening. He just didn't know what. Then he got home. Grandma Ruth was sitting at the kitchen table, holding a thick, cream-colored envelope. No return address. Someone had slid it under the door. Landon opened it. Inside, a business card. Heavy paper, gold lettering, Belmore Hospitality Group, office of the chairwoman. Behind the card, a handwritten note. "The pharmacy was closed, so I still owe you something. You gave more than $10 that night. CB." Landon's fingers went numb. CB. He grabbed his phone, typed Belmore Hospitality Group into Google with shaking hands. The screen is loaded. Luxury hotels, restaurants, a charity foundation, and a face. An older white woman, tailored blazer, confident smile. He knew that face. But no, that was a billionaire. The woman on the subway was just... He looked at the note again. CB. Then he remembered the handkerchief, 2 letters stitched in the corner. CB. His mouth went dry. "Grandma, I think something really big is about to happen." But he had no idea how big. And then Landon Turner walked into a room that turned his entire world upside down. It started with a phone call, Thursday evening. Landon was helping Grandma Ruth stretch her fingers for her arthritis. His phone rang. Unknown number. "Hello?" "Good evening. Am I speaking with Landon Turner?" "Yes, ma'am." "My name is Diane Caldwell. I'm the personal assistant to Mrs. Catherine Belmore, chairwoman of Belmore Hospitality Group. Mrs. Belmore would like to meet with you and your grandmother this Saturday morning. A car will pick you up at 9. Silence. Grandma Ruth was watching him. "Who is it, baby?" He covered the phone. "Grandma, the woman from that business card. She wants to meet us. She's sending a car." Grandma Ruth's hand went to her chest. "Belmore? That hotel company?" Landon nodded. "Lord have mercy." He put the phone back. "Ma'am, we'll be ready." "Saturday, 9 o'clock.
Dress however you're comfortable."
The line went dead. Landon stared at his cracked screen. His hands were trembling. Grandma Ruth grabbed his arm. "Whatever happens, I'm proud of you. You hear me?" He barely slept Friday night. Saturday morning, 8:15. Landon stood in front of the mirror, wearing the nicest shirt he had, a white button-down borrowed from Ray, a little too big in the shoulders. Grandma Ruth wore her church dress, the blue one with the white collar, the one she saved for Easter and funerals. Ray stood in the doorway watching them. "You look sharp, kid." "I look like I'm wearing your shirt." "That's because you are. Never looked that good on me." Grandma Ruth laughed. First real laugh in weeks. At 9 o'clock, a black town car pulled up in front of their building. Not a taxi, not an Uber. Tinted windows, the kind of car Landon had only seen in movies. The driver stepped out, opened the back door. "Mr. Turner, Mrs. Turner, good morning." Mr. Turner. Nobody had ever called him that. He was kid. He was boy. He was, "Hey you." Never Mr. Grandma Ruth squeezed his hand as they slid into the back seat. Leather. Soft. Clean. It smelled like a world that didn't belong to them. Landon watched through the window as the city changed. Past the corner store, past the broken streetlight, past the block where he mowed lawns for $3. Every mile, the buildings got taller. The streets got cleaner. 10 minutes later, the car stopped. Landon looked up, and his stomach flipped. The building. The same building he walked past every single day. Glass lobby, marble floors, the big framed poster. Belmore Hospitality Group. "Grandma," he whispered, "I know this building." They walked through the front doors. The lobby was enormous. Footsteps echoing on stone. A security guard nodded. An assistant led them to an elevator. Top floor. Glass walls. Skyline views. Everything bright, polished, impossibly clean. Grandma Ruth whispered, "Sweet Jesus." Landon whispered back, "I've walked past this place my whole life. Never thought I'd be inside." The assistant led them down a hallway, past conference rooms, past framed awards, to a corner office at the very end. The door opened, and there she was. Catherine Belmore stood up from behind her desk. Same face, same eyes, same woman from the subway platform. But everything else was different. Tailored navy blazer, reading glasses, silver earrings. The posture of someone who built an empire with her own hands. Landon froze. You're the lady from the subway." Catherine smiled, soft, warm, but carrying something heavier this time. "And you're the boy who gave his last $10 to a stranger who owns this building." The air left the room. Landon started shaking his head. "I didn't know who you were. I wasn't trying to—" Catherine stepped around the desk, walked toward him, and then she knelt down, one knee on the floor, eye level with a 14-year-old boy. "That's exactly why you're here, Landon. Because you didn't know. You didn't help a billionaire that night. You helped the woman who was alone and hurting. And you did it when you had every reason not to." She turned to Grandma Ruth. "Mrs. Turner, your grandson sat with me on an empty platform when no one else in this city would look at me. He gave me his last $10. He rode with me to make sure I was safe. And when he left, he said, 'I hope your son calls you back.'" Grandma Ruth covered her mouth, tears streaming. Catherine reached into her desk drawer, pulled out the $10 bill, pressed flat, perfectly preserved, and placed it on the desk. "This is worth more to me than anything in this building." Landon stared at the bill. The same crease, the same fold. The bill he earned mowing lawns and washing cars. The bill that was supposed to buy Grandma Ruth's medicine. Now it was sitting on a mahogany desk on the top floor of a building he never dreamed of entering. Grandma Ruth put her hand on Landon's shoulder. Her voice broke. "He's been taking care of me since he was 10 years old. Never complains. Not once." Catherine looked at Landon, long and steady. "I know, Mrs. Turner. I could tell the moment he sat down next to me." And right there, in that office, on that floor, 3 people from 3 completely different worlds shared a silence that said more than words ever could. But Catherine Belmore didn't bring them here just to say thank you. She had a plan. But Catherine Belmore didn't bring Landon and his grandmother to her office just to say thank you. She had a plan. And it was going to change everything. Catherine sat back down behind her desk. She folded her hands, and when she spoke, her voice was calm, steady, like she'd been thinking about this for days. "Landon, I didn't invite you here for a conversation. I invited you here because I made a decision the night you sat down next to me on that subway bench." Landon swallowed hard. Grandma Ruth's hand tightened on his shoulder. "First things first." Catherine opened a folder on her desk. "I understand you and your grandmother are facing eviction. $1,200 past due. 3-day notice." Landon's face went pale. He never told anyone outside of Ray. How did she know? "That debt is paid. As of this morning. Your landlord has been contacted. The balance is 0. Landon blinked. "What?" "0, Landon. And your rent is covered for the next 2 years. You and your grandmother are not going anywhere." Grandma Ruth let out a sound. Not a word, not a cry. Something in between. A sound that only comes from a person who's been drowning and just felt solid ground under their feet for the first time. She grabbed Catherine's hand across the desk. "God bless you. God bless you, child." Catherine held her hand and didn't let go. "There's more, Mrs. Turner." "More?" "I've spoken with the Belmore Foundation's healthcare director. Starting next week, you'll be enrolled in our community wellness program. Full coverage, doctor visits, physical therapy for your arthritis, blood pressure medication delivered to your door every month. No cost, no paperwork. It's taken care of." Grandma Ruth couldn't speak. Her lips were moving, but nothing was coming out. Tears fell onto their joined hands. Landon sat completely still. His eyes were locked on Catherine's face, like he was waiting for her to say, "Just kidding." Like this was a dream, and any second now his alarm would go off, and he'd be back on that couch, staring at the ceiling. But Catherine wasn't done. She turned to Landon, looked him straight in the eyes. "Now, let's talk about you." She pulled out a second folder. Inside, Landon could see papers with his name on them, official looking, with the Belmore Foundation logo at the top. The Belmore Foundation Scholars Program offers full scholarships to students who demonstrate exceptional character. I'm offering you a place in that program. Full tuition, from today through high school graduation, and then through 4 years of college. Books, supplies, a laptop, a private tutor twice a week to make sure you don't just keep up, you get ahead. Landon's lip trembled. He pressed his teeth together to stop it.
"You're 14 years old," Catherine continued. "You have your entire life in front of you, and I'm going to make sure nothing stands in your way. Not money, not circumstances, nothing." The room was silent except for Grandma Ruth crying softly. Then Catherine said something that changed the air in the room completely. "And one more thing. This isn't charity, Landon. I don't do charity. I do investment. And I'm investing in you, personally." She leaned forward. "Once a month, you and I will sit down together, right here in this office. I'll introduce you to people. I'll teach you things school can't teach. I'll show you how the world works. Not the world outside your window, but the one you're going to build for yourself." A mentor. A billionaire mentor. For a 14-year-old boy from East Baltimore who mowed lawns for $3. Landon opened his mouth. Closed it. Opened it again. His voice came out barely above a whisper. "Why me?" Catherine didn't hesitate. "Because kindness, without an audience, is the rarest thing in this world. You sat down next to me when you had nothing. You gave when it cost you everything. You didn't know my name. You didn't know my money. You just saw a person who was hurting. And at 14 years old, you did what most adults never learn to do." She paused. "That's not something I can teach, Landon. That's something you already have. Everything else, the education, the opportunity, the future, that's what I can give you." Landon stared at the desk. The $10 bill was still sitting there between them, pressed flat, preserved. A bridge between two worlds that should never have connected. Then Catherine added one last thing. "I only have one condition." Landon looked up. "One day, maybe not tomorrow, maybe not next year, but someday, when you're in a position to help someone, do it the way you helped me, when nobody's watching, when there's nothing to gain. Can you promise me that?" Landon nodded, and for the first time since he walked into that office, he smiled. "My grandma already taught me that." Grandma Ruth let out a laugh through her tears. "Yes, I did. Yes, I did." Catherine smiled back, and for just a moment, all three of them were just people. Not a billionaire, not a sick grandmother, not a broke kid. Just three human beings sitting in a room where something real had happened. Landon pulled out his cracked phone. Can I call someone? My neighbor Ray, he's been helping us a lot. He should know we're okay." Catherine nodded. "Of course." Landon dialed. 2 rings. "Yeah? Ray, we're not getting evicted. Grandma's going to get her medicine. Every month." Silence on the other end. Then a long, shaky breath. "Boy, you know I'm proud of you, right?" "I know, Ray." "Good. Because I am. I really am." Landon hung up. Grandma Ruth pulled him close. He buried his face in her shoulder, and for the first time in a very long time, Landon Turner cried. Not because he was sad, because he was safe. But this story didn't end with Landon Turner. It rippled, and it kept rippling until an entire community felt it. 3 months later, Landon walked through the hallways of Westfield Middle School wearing a new backpack. Not expensive, not flashy, just new. No broken zipper, no ripped straps. A small thing, but for a kid who carried everything in a bag held together by safety pins, It felt like armor. His grades went up. Not a little, a lot. With a tutor twice a week, Landon started understanding things he never had time to learn before. Math made sense now. Science clicked. His English teacher pulled him aside one afternoon and said, "Landon, your last essay was the best in the class. Have you ever thought about joining the debate team?" He hadn't, but he did. First meeting, he was terrified. Stood in front of 12 kids and forgot every word. Second meeting, he got through half his argument before freezing. Third meeting, he finished. Fourth meeting, he won. The kid who used to sit in the back row with nothing to say was now standing in front of a room making people listen. But the biggest change wasn't at school. It was at home. Grandma Ruth had her first physical therapy session 2 weeks after the meeting with Catherine. A specialist came to the apartment, worked on her hands, showed her exercises, gave her new medication that actually worked. Within a month, the swelling in her fingers went down. She could grip a spoon again. She could button her own shirt. She could stand at the stove without holding the wall. One evening, Landon came home from debate practice and smelled something he hadn't smelled in over a year. Grandma Ruth's fried chicken. She was standing at the stove, humming a church hymn, turning pieces in the pan with steady hands. She looked up when he walked in and smiled. "Sit down, baby. Dinner's almost ready." Landon sat at the table, opened his textbook, and for the first time in as long as he could remember, the apartment felt like a home instead of a place they were about to lose. The community felt it too. Catherine donated $250,000 to Pastor Elaine Goodwin's community kitchen, the same kitchen where Landon volunteered on weekends. New industrial equipment, a bigger space, and a brand new job training program for unemployed residents in the neighborhood. The ribbon cutting made the local news. Camera crews, reporters, city council members shaking hands. And right there in the front row, Landon Turner, standing beside Catherine Belmore. Not behind her, beside her. Pastor Goodwin grabbed the microphone and said, "This kitchen has been feeding families for 11 years, but today, it's going to start changing lives. And it all started because a 14-year-old boy gave away his last $10. The crowd clapped. Landon looked at the floor. He still wasn't used to attention. Back on the block, things shifted too. Ray noticed it first. The broken streetlight on the corner that had been out for months? Fixed. The sidewalk cracks that nobody cared about? Patched. A new after-school program opened at the rec center 2 blocks away, funded by the Belmore Foundation. Ray sat on the stoop one evening, watching kids play basketball under the new lights. Landon sat next to him. "You know what you did, right?" Ray said. "I didn't do anything, Ray. That was all Mrs. Belmore." "Nah, she had the money. But you had the thing that money can't buy. You had the heart. And that heart opened a door that changed this whole block." Landon didn't say anything, just sat there, watching the kids play. Then one evening, something happened that even Catherine didn't expect. Her phone rang. She looked at the screen. A name she hadn't seen in 2 years. Her son. She answered with shaking hands. "Mom?" One word. One single word. And 24 months of silence shattered like glass. "I'm here, sweetheart. I'm right here." He'd seen the news clip, the story about the subway, the boy, the $10, and something inside him broke open. They talked for 45 minutes. It wasn't perfect.
It wasn't a movie ending, but it was a beginning. And it started because a 14-year-old boy sat down next to a stranger and said, "You look like my grandma when she's having a bad night." One act of kindness, one $10 bill, and look how far it reached. But this story has one more chapter. And then, on a rainy night 3 years later, it happened again. Landon Turner was 17 now. Taller, broader. A senior at Westfield High School with a 3.8 GPA and a stack of college acceptance letters on his desk. The debate team captain. The kid who once sat in the back row with nothing to say was now giving speeches that made auditoriums go quiet. But some things never changed. He still rode the subway, still carried his grandmother's photo in his wallet, still volunteered at Pastor Goodwin's kitchen every Saturday morning, and he still talked to Catherine Belmore once a month, sometimes about school, sometimes about life, sometimes about nothing at all. Grandma Ruth was doing well. Her hands still ached on cold mornings, but she cooked dinner every night. She never missed a Sunday at church. And every time Landon walked through the front door, she said the same thing she'd been saying since he was 5 years old. "There's my baby." It was a Tuesday night, late. Landon was riding the subway home from an SAT prep class, rain drumming against the city above, water dripping through the cracks in the station ceiling. He stepped off the train and walked toward the exit. And then he stopped. There was a bench near the stairs, one of Catherine's benches. A small bronze plaque bolted to the armrest. "Sit. Rest. You are seen." And sitting on that bench was a boy, 12, maybe 13, hoodie pulled tight over his head, knees drawn up to his chest, phone in his hand, screen glowing with a text message he kept reading over and over. He was crying, quietly, the way people cry when they don't want anyone to notice. Landon stood there for a moment, and the whole world folded in on itself. 3 years disappeared. He wasn't 17 anymore. He was 14, sitting on a cold bench, holding a $10 bill, watching a stranger tremble. He walked over, sat down, not too close, 2 seats away. "Hey, rough night?" The boy looked up, startled, red eyes, wet cheeks. Landon reached into his wallet, past his student ID, past Grandma Ruth's photo. He pulled out a $10 bill, folded it carefully, and placed it on the bench between them. "Get yourself something to eat, and whatever's going on, it's going to be okay." The boy stared at the money, then at Landon. "Why?" Landon smiled. A real one, the kind that reaches your eyes. "My grandma always says, if you only got a little, give a little. God keeps the books." He stood up, tapped the bronze plaque on the bench as he walked past. "Sit. Rest. You are seen." The train doors closed behind him. Through the window, he could see the boy pick up the $10 bill and hold it like it was made of gold. Landon touched his wallet, felt the edge of his grandmother's photo, and smiled. The circle was complete, but the kindness? That was just getting started. Let me ask you something. When was the last time you helped someone and it cost you something real? Not a dollar you wouldn't miss, not a favor that took 5 minutes. I mean something that actually hurt to give away. Because that's what Landon did. He didn't give up from his overflow. He gave from his last. And he was 14 years old. So if this story moved you, even a little, hit that like button. Share it with someone who needs to hear it tonight. Someone who's going through a hard time. Someone who forgot that one small act can change everything. And subscribe so you don't miss the next one, because I promise you, the next story hits even harder. I'll see you there.